What's up everyone, in today's video I'm going to be showing you 7 common mistakes that you might be making. These tips are just a few things I've noticed a lot of lower players doing, and there's stuff in here that I still do as well, so I figured why not give it a quick video on some things that we can all fix together and get higher in ranked. Before I get into the video though, I just wanted to say a quick thank you for all the support. I've seen all the comments and stuff and it's actually awesome. Definitely going to continue making stuff. Don't really have a schedule, but consistency is what I'm going for. So yeah, thanks to everyone who's been watching and subbed and everything. With that also, I wanted to say that I'm thinking of doing like maybe a Q&A type thing at 1k subs, just to have something to do for 1k, but not necessary, but I thought it'd be something a little cool. So if you're interested and there's something you want to ask, then chuck it down in the comments. We'll put like a capital Q with a colon in front, just so like I know what comments to look through for the questions. But yeah, just chuck them in the comments and I'll have a look through, and then I'll make the video once I hit 1k. So yeah, with that out of the way, let's get into the video. So number one is just going to be a really small thing that specifically low rank players should be abusing a lot more often. That's just because this tip is all based on movement, and it's going to help you stay sneaky as much as you can, because you never want your opponents to know where you're playing, because it allows you to have a lot more options and catch people off guard. So this tip's just going to be to abuse the silent side steps. So in Valorant, when you full sprint to your side, you make a lot of noise, as you know, and the natural way to combat that is just to shift walk, which is really good. And a lot of people use it, including me, but a lot of the time, if you shift walk into an angle, 9 times out of 10, you're going to lose it. They're going to be able to react so much quicker because they can see your whole body moving in slowly to the peak, so they're going to be able to react. So that's where the silent sidestep comes in, because when you full sprint in Valorant for about like 2 steps, I don't know the actual amount, but somewhere around like 2, there's going to be no noise. So basically, instead of shift walking the whole way into a peak, you shift walk up to it, and then right as you're about to do the actual peak or the swing, you're just going to use that 1 or 2 step thing, so it's silent. So then if someone's there, you have the speed to be able to challenge them normally and have them not react like super fast and one tap you, but you're also, if they're not there, you're not going to make noise, so it doesn't matter. I'd say this is probably most usable when you're isolating angles and you're peeking like big things. So you split it up, you peek a little doorway, then you peek a little bit more out, check like CT, blah blah blah. So that's a really good spot to use it, and you can just keep repeating it. So for each little section that you're going to peek, you do the 1 to 2 thing, then you do a 1 to 2 thing, 1 to 2, and you just keep doing it. And yeah, so definitely make sure you abuse that as much as you can. So number 1 summary is just the silent sidestep, using the 2-step maneuver and making sure you're staying quiet the whole time while you're pushing, so no one can ever know exactly where you are, and be super prepared to take you out. Number 2 is to stop crouch spraying. Crouch spraying is something you're going to see throughout like the whole game in all the ranks, even higher elo, but take it from me, if you're new, it is not something that you want to make into a bad habit. To explain kind of why crouch spraying is not that worth, I'll take us into the range and fully explain it and like show some examples. Because one of the main problems with it is it's very bad for your movement, and it doesn't offer you enough to counteract that. So at the end of the day, it's not really worth to be crouching, because you're sacrificing so much and you're only gaining like an extra maybe shot or 2 and a tiny bit of like spray control. It's really not worth. So we're here in the range, and basically what I'm going to show you is the different bullet holes. The difference is literally like 2 or 3 bullets, which can be super helpful, but at the same time it has so many downsides. 2 of the downsides that I would say are the more major ones is just your movement. You're restricting yourself, so basically once you hit that crouch button and you start spraying, if your shots miss, your spray misses, then you're just dead. You can't back out of that. They're going to be killing you and you're going to be stuck crouched. You're not going to be able to like move out of the way or anything like that. And then the second one is when you're crouching mid-fight every time, someone who's aiming at your chest is just going to get free headshots. So you're just making it easier for a lot of people. So as you can see on the walls over there, I've got the sprays from crouching and standing. The difference is really not that big. So next time you're fighting people, think about, okay, do I need to spray here, or is it more valuable for me to be able to like move in between shots, etc. And if you're able to learn that and control it, then you're going to see a lot of success in your dueling. So number 2 summary is to control your crouch spraying. Stop doing it every time. Don't really do it that much at all. Focus on tapping and bursting and moving in between shots, because at the end of the day, that's going to make your dueling way better than crouch spraying is. Number 3 is another small tip that a lot of players might not know and they might not abuse yet because they haven't heard about it, but this is a super helpful one in a lot of situations, specifically with being stealthy again. So this one's just a shift jump on upward slopes. So when we're walking up like an upward ramp slope, you're going to be making the same amount of noise obviously as normal walking, but a cool thing about Valorant is if you're jumping up that slope while holding shift down, you're going to make absolutely no noise and it's going to be super fast as well. So basically this one, there's no downside to not using it. So definitely, now that you've heard this, next time you're going up any ramps and stuff, get in the habit of jumping up them. The only time where this is kind of bad is when there's an enemy at the top of the ramp. If you're in the middle of jumping, you're probably not that ready to duel, but a lot of the time it's a really good tool to reposition yourself and not let the enemy know exactly where you're repositioning. So number 3 summary is just to start abusing the shift jumping on upward slopes and keep yourself more hidden and allow yourself to reposition more effectively in game. So number 4 is going to be to abuse the different types of peaks more. In Valorant, a lot of the times you'll find yourself at like corners or angles where you don't know if someone's going to be holding you or not, and things like shoulder peaks or jump peaks come in really handy in those situations. For example, 2 random times I thought of that you might want to start using a shoulder or a jump peak. Number 1 is just, let's say you're in a post plant and you hear the enemy tapping the spike. The problem with peeking is that if they got off of the spike and faked you, you have to take a 1v1 duel, which isn't what you want as a defender. You want to play all of the time, but you don't want to call a bluff, because if they hold it, then that's basically a throw. So the way you outplay in this position is just to abuse the jump peaks or shoulder peaks, and that way you can see if they're on the spike or off it, and you can follow it up again and do it as many times as you need, because you're pretty much unkillable. So definitely try and abuse that as much as you can. It's going to help your post plant a ton. And then the second example is when the other team has someone playing operator, then you definitely need to be careful on those longer ones where you'd expect an op to be holding, and use jump peaks, because that way you're not going to instantly just trade yourself for nothing. And it's a really good way to outplay operators, because usually they're not going to be able to hit those shots. So yeah, number 4 summary is just going to be abusing jump peaks and shoulder peaks as much as you can, specifically in a lot of situations where it can prevent you from taking an unnecessary duel. Number 5 is all about utility. Not enough people realize how strong utility is yet, and so they don't use it enough or correctly. You should be abusing your utility as much as possible. It's basically just free kills if you use it right. But utility can be used for even more than just kills, like slowing the opponents down, getting information for your team, zoning enemies out for your team. There's a lot of different things that utility offer, and when you learn to abuse it correctly, it makes a massive difference. Because this one can get super in depth, I won't go too far into it, but just know that you should be using your utility to your advantage whenever you can, and be thinking about different ways you can use it to help your team out. Some simple examples to give just of how utility could be used could be smoking a main entrance to a site. Think about how risky it feels to push through a smoke when you can be getting held from like all these different angles. When you come out of that smoke, you have to be ready to fight anyone at any side, whereas if there's none, then you can peek little parts of it at a time, blah blah blah. So that's just going to make people a lot more scared, and it's going to possibly even slow them down, which is going to help your team in the long term, going to let everyone rotate, etc. Another thing you can do is add mollies into chokes and everything as well. That's obviously going to stop the opponents from going through. If they want to walk through that, they'd either die or take a lot of damage. Easy thing you can do with your utility. So yeah, definitely start to abuse things like that. Another thing obviously would be lineups. You can use mollies, shock darts to kill people diffusing, or even when they're planning defaults. It's a really good way to try and outplay people and get free kills. So number 5 summary is just going to be using your utility as much as you can to your advantage, because you can use it to get free kills, slow the opponents down, information, or even zone people out. Number 6 is another one of the small movement tips that I've got, and once again it helps you be quiet and it lets you get a lot of information but stay relatively safe. So when you're jumping in Valorant, the landing noise is pretty loud, so if you hold crouch as you jump, then release at the peak of jump, you're going to prevent all noise from happening, so you're doing silent jumps. And this is something that you can abuse to jump spot for info and everything a lot. One example I've got is be on bind defense. If you're hiding behind the gen, you can do that crouch peek and look into hookah, jump spot for info. And while you're doing that, you're not going to be exposing yourself to long, because they're not going to be able to hear you, so they're not going to think of sneaking up or anything like that. So this one's going to help you let your team know what's happening as fast as possible, while not dying to someone who's sneaking up on you or trying to zone you with utilities or ults. So number 6 summary is just going to be to make sure you're using the silent crouch jump where possible. It's not something that you need to use, but it's great to gather info and stay pretty safe. Number 7 is to play with your team more. This is an obvious one, but literally no one does it. Think about how hard it is if you have to fight 2 people on your screen at the same time. It's pretty much unwinnable, so why not set up as many 2v1s as you can. Playing with your team ranges from a lot of things like holding cross peaks, playing setups with utility, and a lot more. So if you have the chance, you should definitely be trying to abuse your team to outplay people, because if no one else is doing it, then when you do it, you're just going to absolutely steamroll people and get so many free kills. An example is to play around your Sova's arrows if you have one on your team. It's really good because you're pretty much just giving yourself wall hacks. So if you're playing in a smoke or something and he darts over the top and it pings people, free kill straight away. So doing things like this is definitely going to help you climb. Another one would be to play off of a teammate's blinds. I know there's one set up on bind B defense where someone could play an elbow and blind all of long, and someone could play close garden and then peek off of the blind. That one gets you a lot of free kills because no one's going to be expecting someone to flash from like the other side of the choke. They're looking at you, you're the one who's playing aggressive, so when they get hit by something on the other side, it's going to be free kills for you. So number 7 summary is going to be to abuse playing with your team, set up as many things with your team as you can to get free kills, etc. And with that being the final tip, that's the end of the video, and that's all I got. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please be sure to leave a like or subscribe. Turn the noties on if you want to see more, because I'm going to be posting a lot more. Got a lot of ideas. Hopefully going to continue on the prior series. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time.